Hello and very warm welcome at Amish Shackle 5858. I am Amish Shackle. Foreign news have been reported by American, European, Asian, African, Australian news channels and the news agencies. So please, let's go to the headlines.
Tonight, breaking news, the new video from Nancy Guthrie's children to their mother's captors. Also, the dangerous Arctic blast in the Northeast with sub-zero wind chills. And countdown to the Super Bowl. The teams are ready, and the fans are pouring in. But first, the news just coming in tonight. Savannah Guthrie and her brother and sister sending a video message to their mother's captors, saying, "We received your message, and we will pay." It comes as the investigation is widening. Agents reviewing surveillance video from a local convenience store didn't catch a glimpse of a vehicle of interest. The dangerous cold across the Northeast, 80 million Americans on alert, temperatures plunging and the wind picking up. The coldest winter in New York City in more than 2 decades. 3 rescued after falling into an icy pond. Our weather team tracking it all. A judge ordering the Trump administration to restore $16 billion for a major rail tunnel between New York and New Jersey. Why President Trump blocked it and what sources say he demanded to let it go forward. As tonight, the president is also refusing to apologize after posting a racist video on social media. Trump saying he didn't make a mistake. Newly released body camera video. Injured after small plane in a remote wooded area. Remembering Brad Arnold, founding member and lead singer of the band Three Doors Down. Arnold losing his battle with cancer at just 47 years old. Team USA back in action at the Winter Games. The men's figure skater known as Quad God performing his extraordinary quadruple axel. And all eyes on Lindsey Vonn a week after tearing her ACL, set to go for gold again. And countdown to the Super Bowl. Less than 24 hours until the battle between the Patriots and Seahawks. 75,000 fans are pouring in. Security already ramping up from the water to the air to cyberspace as well. And with Bad Bunny headlining the halftime show, the Benito Bowl watch parties set to take place from coast to coast.
From ABC News, this is ABC World News Tonight. Reporting tonight from Santa Clara, California.
Good evening, I'm with you.
On this Saturday night, China's top court spares a Canadian life. The death sentence for Robert Schellenberg, charged with drug smuggling in China, is overturned. How trade diplomacy
Now at least there's a possibility of quid pro quo.
may be behind the thawing relations. Arctic security under threat.
We will always choose collaboration and cooperation.
Canada opens a consulate in Greenland as talks between the Arctic nation and the U.S. remain tense. Also, the FBI conducts a new search of Nancy Guthrie's home after receiving a second message about her abduction. Plus, Canada's first medal of the Milano Cortina Olympic Games. And a love story on ice.
We had very similar work ethics, very similar goals, obviously.
The Canadian curlers, who've become more than just teammates.
Global National. Reporting tonight, Colleen Christie.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us. We begin tonight with dramatic developments in the case of Robert Schellenberg, the Canadian national detained on drug smuggling charges for more than a decade in China. China's top court has struck down Schellenberg's death sentence and ordered a new trial, a sign of a diplomatic thaw between Beijing and Ottawa after years of strained relations. Schellenberg was originally sentenced to 15 years in prison, a term that increased on appeal after the arrest of Huawei chief financial officer Meng Wanzhou in Vancouver in 2018 at the behest of the U.S. Beijing then arrested Canadians Michael Spavor and Michael Kovrig, a move Ottawa denounced as retaliatory. The decision to order a retrial for Schellenberg follows Prime Minister Mark Carney's high-stakes trip to China last month, one that focused on resetting ties in the face of the U.S. president's intensified tariff pressures. Nathaniel Duff has our top story tonight.
Canada condemns his verdict.
The
us now is former FBI Special Agent Nicole Parker. Nicole, thanks for sticking with us this extra hour of the big weekend show with this breaking news. Earlier you mentioned, just some ideas of what the perpetrators here may be doing, perhaps trying to get more time. What I want to ask you, since you're an FBI Special Agent, is what is it that the FBI brings to the table in this investigation that local law enforcement, state law enforcement, general police efforts, investigators can't do? And is any of that in motion right now?
That's a great question. We love working with our local law enforcement agencies, both local and state. They're phenomenal, and they bring a lot to the table. But again, the FBI, they do have very unique resources, and I, again, greatly appreciate that President Trump has said, look, take whatever you need. Every single resource that you need, we will give it to you. And that is powerful because the FBI does have very special techniques, investigative tools, and other things of that sort. So let's start with our CAST, for instance, our cellular analysis support team. They will literally go in and they can tell where a cell phone has been pinging. They can go and look in a certain area and they can tell basically every single person that uses a cell phone in that area, and they can then triangulate that, they can track that, and then they can determine where was this person at this exact hour. And so if someone's saying, oh, I wasn't there, well, if you had a cell phone, look, the pings don't lie. They do not lie. And It is a very complex and sophisticated technology. They do an amazing job of it. We have our critical incident response group. That includes all of our hostage rescue team, our SWAT, our behavioral analysis unit. Let me hone in on behavioral analysis unit for a minute. That is one of the divisions that is so crucial in this investigation because of these emails that are coming out. They do a full statement analysis. They will review everything. They will say, okay, they'll sit with the family and they will say, look, this is what we believe that they're saying. These are profilers that have been working these types of investigations. I mean, we're talking hundreds of investigations that have been worked. I work very closely with many of these profilers, and this is how you solve cases. You look at behaviors, you look at patterns. And so a lot of the things that I'm sharing with you are based on things that I personally experienced by looking at different behavioral patterns in the past. Of course, this case is always unique, but when you look at what you've done in the past and how there are a lot of similarities, BAU is outstanding. The other thing that they bring to the table are evidence response teams. They're phenomenal. They go in and they reconstruct crime scenes. I believe that they are definitely reconstructing the crime scene, trying to determine what occurred in this instance, and then they're taking all of the technological artifacts and they're piecing them together and they're narrowing in the timeline. So we've talked about, for instance, the Ring doorbell camera or the doorbell camera that stopped working. They're going to take that specific artifact and then they're going to piece it together with, the pacemaker app stopped working. Then they're going to actually piece it together. And one thing that I think the FBI is definitely doing is think about it. This woman had a pacemaker. Our heart rate is extremely important. It's indicative of a state of stress that you might be in. So I wouldn't be shocked if they're taking her pacemaker app and they're looking at her heart rate over the last, let's say, couple weeks and seeing when
and I view.
Today, the Liberal and National parties to reunite after striking an 11th hour deal. The calm before the storm as severe tropical cyclone Mitchell approaches the Pilbara coast. New South Wales to seize and crush illegal e-bikes after a swarm of riders caused chaos in Sydney. A development in the case of missing US woman Nancy Guthrie. Her family says they're willing to pay for her safe return. And day one of the Winter Olympics wraps up with Australian snowboarder Valentino Gaselli falling short of a medal. Hello and welcome to ABC News. I'm Melissa McKay. Liberal leader Susan Lee and Nationals leader David Littleproud are expected to announce the coalition will reunite at a press conference in Canberra this afternoon. ABC News understands the two parties have reformed in the wake of their second split since May, after 3 National senators voted against the government's hate speech laws, breaching cabinet solidarity. A draft document seen by the ABC says each shadow minister will return to their previously held roles on
Africa News. The news.
Blocked roads and a heavy police presence. Tensions erupted near Sheikh Anta Diop University and other higher education institutions in the Senegalese capital Dakar on Friday. Students started protesting over the decision to close all university canteens after dinner on the same day. This was justified by acts of sabotage in these establishments, according to the CRUS, the regional body in charge of services such as canteens. The acts of sabotage referred to students refusing to pay for their meal tickets in protest over late payments of their stipends. Some students claim they haven't received their government stipend money in over a year. Tensions over financial aid already led to clashes between students and police forces in early December. Student associations said that they had attempted to hold peaceful demonstrations for months, but were ignored by authorities. The latest decision to close all university canteens has also sparked political reactions in support of the students. Some parliamentaries said that the government wanted to deprive students of meals that, for some of them, were the only adequate food they could get. The sun is merciless and the rain has by far not been sufficient. Kenya is suffering from a major drought after the levels of last year's short rains were among the lowest on record. Wide stretches of the country are now concerned by the lack of water. 9 counties in total, including some going beyond the usually drier north, were placed in an alert phase by the authorities. In Mandara County, the government already declared a drought emergency last month. Those most suffering from the situation are herder communities like the Maasai. Their livestock have been decimated, leaving the herders with little income and an uncertain future. The games are open. In the Italian city of Milan, the Winter Olympics opening ceremony took place on Friday. The dazzling event created buzz across the globe, even in Russia, where the event was broadcast in places like this pub. Russia's participation in international sports competitions has been restricted since it started its invasion of neighboring Ukraine in 2022. That includes this year's Winter Olympics. Some Russian athletes are allowed to participate, but have to do so under a neutral banner. It's a beautiful show, but we Russians would still like to see our athletes participating, at least in a neutral status. We want to feel proud of them for at least making it there.
We are not happy about that blank flag, but in fact, what we see is the ceremony of sport, the ceremony of the whole world friendship. It's not a
Headline news this hour. A general election underway in Thailand where more than 50 million people are set to vote. Many are looking to see if caretaker Prime Minister Anutin Chanvirakul will be able to retain power, as observers expect no single party to win an outright majority. A national referendum is also being held on whether a new constitution should be created to replace Thailand's 2017 military drafted constitution. Voters in Japan cast their ballots in the biting cold with forecasts of peaking snowfall, forcing shorter voting hours in some areas, potentially complicating Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi's bid to secure a clear mandate. 6 polling stations in mountainous areas are already slated to close 2 hours earlier than expected. And Prime Minister Narendra Modi announces the expansion of India's digital payment system into Malaysia as he meets his counterpart Anwar Ibrahim in Kuala Lumpur. Diplomatic talks lined up throughout the day as the leaders seek closer cooperation in trade, defense, and technology. And that's the latest from the CNN newsroom.
Hello and a very good morning to you. Thanks for joining us here on Sky News. The former Labour Prime Minister Gordon Brown says Sir Keir Starmer has been too slow to clean up politics in the wake of the Lord Mandelson scandal. He believes the situation now facing the Prime Minister is serious, but described him as a man of integrity who'd been betrayed by Peter Mandelson, who denies any betrayal. Only that, this report from our political correspondent Amanda Acas contains a flash photography from the start.
Revelation. French. Now his former boss, Gordon Brown, has spoken out to condemn the betrayal of the man he brought back to cabinet during the financial crisis, and to claim Sir Keir Starmer is in a serious situation after appointing Mandelson US ambassador.
Keir Starmer was misled and he was betrayed, and of course that is not a sufficient explanation for what happened. There is a systemic failure to do proper vetting, to go through the proper procedures. I can look in his eyes and I can see that he is a man of integrity. He wants to do the right things. Perhaps he's been too slow to do the right things, but he must now do the right things now. Just what is in the next few months when he tries to, and I believe will try to clean up the system.
Peter Mandelson has in the past denied doing it to Epstein.
I am sorry. Sorry for having believed Mandelson's lies and appointed him.
The Prime Minister apologised this week for appointing Mandelson, but claimed he'd lied about the nature of his relationship with Epstein, suggesting he barely knew the man. For the Green Party, that doesn't wash.
Well, if this was just one mistake, I would say it would probably be a resignation. But we know it's been a mistake.
Hello and welcome to Night Watch on France 24. I'm Charlotte Hughes and here at Rap Story. Which is in Thailand also casting their ballots on Sunday after 3 years of short-lived coalition administrations. Our France 24 team on the ground takes a look at the complex relationship that the Thai military has with the government. And days after the Washington Post announced it was laying off 1/3 of its staff, CEO and publisher Will Lewis is stepping down. The job cut newspaper, owned by billionaire Jeff Bezos, has prompted anger amongst staff alike.
Live from Berlin. Japan votes in snap elections called by the country's new leader, Tsunade Takaichi, Japan's first female.
Thank you for watching Amish Shakil 5858. I am Amish Shakil. I hope you will visit again. Have a good life. Bye-bye.